Welcome to 60 Skills. The topic of today's lecture is Planetary Kabbalah. All right, what is Planetary Kabbalah? Simply put, Planetary Kabbalah is the placement of the planets within the body to generate a unified effect as you would with multi-letter Kabbalah practice from the Franz Barden lineage. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing things like placing Mercury and then Mars, or Venus and maybe, the Sun within the body in specific places in order to generate a given effect. Now, how do you get there? Planetary Kabbalah, as you can imagine, is not a practice that A, many people engage in, and B, not very well understood. So, to get here, first you have to master, at a minimum, the mother letters of Franz Barden's Kabbalah. For those of you from a different tradition, this would involve mastering the fundamental forces of fire, air, water, earth, and Akasha, as well as non-dual light would be a good idea. Additionally, in order to do this, you need to understand the three transformations to the point where you can clearly delineate between what is a vital, astral, mental, or Akashic emanation of a given energy. So already here, you're talking about quite a bit of work. But even that by itself isn't enough. Then you need to work through all of the different planetary meditations, at a minimum from the near-Earth zone out to Jupiter, although in all honesty you're really talking out to Saturn. And if you're more of a modern person, it's probably a good idea to work your way all the way out to Pluto. Then you have to work your way back and reground through the Sun sphere. At this point, you will begin to understand the individual effects of the planets upon the body. At that point, you can begin to work with planetary emplacement within the body. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the planetary meditations for most ritual systems, what we are talking about here is not emplacement of one of the intelligences or entities associated with a given planet, because that is more of a mediumship issue. In this case, in Planetary Kabbalah, what we are talking about is emplacing the spirit or the power aspect of a given planet within the body. Now, why would you want to do this? At a minimum, if you're familiar with the planets, you would understand that Luna, or the moon, has a lot to do with the astral body. The power or spirit aspect of Luna can also be used to tune the astral body. Likewise, those of you familiar with Mercury and its power aspect understand that this has a direct impact upon the mental body. All of the other planets have their individual aspects of what they impact within the body as well. My upcoming book, How to Train the Planets, well, we'll get into that. So at this point, we've talked about what you need to go through to get there. As a practical timeline, this is going to take anywhere from 18 months to 36 months at a minimum to be able to do. Again, because you have to understand how to generate the fundamental elemental forces, what we call Kabbalah in the Franz Barden lineage, as well as the planetary forces, and have the ability to clearly delineate between their different manifestations at the vital, astral, mental, and Akashic levels. In many ways, if you are familiar with music, this is very much akin to learning how to play chords. So in your training, you're learning all of your chords. Only once you've learned the chords, can you really begin to learn how to play music. And this is a good analogy for what I'm talking about in terms of Planetary Kabbalah. So, okay, what is an example of Planetary Kabbalah? Well, as was introduced to me by an entity involved with Kabbalah at the planetary level, One of the basic techniques involved can be referred to as the Kabbalist or magician's prayer. In this, you in-place Luna, or the moon, again in its power aspect, not its entity aspect, at the level of the solar plexus. This generates a strong astral field. You then place the sun, its power aspect, at the level of the heart chakra or the chest center. This in turn creates a unified and balanced force between the two. Sun and moon meditation, for those of you who are familiar with this from other lineages, is oftentimes the only planetary meditation that is actually engaged in by many systems. So at this point, you now have a balanced, unified energy field within the body. It is something akin to equilibrium, but a little different. So this would be one of the basic techniques involved in Planetary Kabbalah. There are many more, and there are many different ways to in-place the planets within the body as well. That might eventually be a course at some point that I offer, but the simple fact of the matter is so few people are going to do the work necessary, probably would be better taught on a one-on-one basis, but we'll see. Okay, what comes next after you've mastered the basic techniques of Planetary Kabbalah? Well, after mastering Planetary Kabbalah, it turns out there's, sure enough, a Zodiac Kabbalah. Now, this is a much rarer thing and will be a discussion that we'll have in another video. But, as I've mentioned before in earlier videos, if you are familiar with the cover of Franz Barton's third book, Key to the True Kabbalah, he's clearly displaying a form of development that can occur by first mastering the elemental energies, then mastering the planetary energies, then mastering the energies of the zodiac, and then finally mastering the energies of, sure enough, the Sephiroth. Now, I am new to my study of the zodiac meditations, so I don't really have a lot to say about that right now. But these are some key points that you should consider if you would desire to study Planetary Kabbalah at some point. If you enjoyed the subject of today's lecture, please give us a like down below and consider subscribing to the channel. If you would like to learn more about the 60 Skills curriculum, go down into the details portion of the video and you'll find many links that can lead you to many interesting places to look into. Otherwise, train hard and be well.